Switch use with an iPad version iOS 10.3.1. The hardware we usually use for switch control of an iPad is either the Bluetooth switch, which has a white and an orange button and space to add 2 additional switches of your choice. These switches are programmable. Alternatively, the applicator will enable you to program and add up to 4 switches of your choice. The demonstration will use a Bluetooth switch which will be attached via Bluetooth. It has a white and an orange button and space to add 2 more switches of your choice. The device is programmable, but at a simple level, the buttons will be programmed to tap and move to next item. iOS switch control can be set up to control your whole iOS device, but the setup is quite complex. Certain apps are switch accessible with built-in switch controls. They require a switch, but do not require switch functionality to be turned on within the iPad. The switch control lies in the app, not within the iOS device. Jane Farrell is a good place to have a look for switch accessible apps. So if we have a look at the iPad to set up switch control, the initial setup will be done through settings. So I'm going to press on settings. And that should take you to the general section, which you can see on the left hand side. And next to settings, next to general, is accessibility, and I'm going to click on accessibility. Now, the first thing you must do if you're going to dabble with switch control is to allocate switch control to the accessibility shortcut. So I've just scrolled up to the bottom, very last choice, accessibility shortcut. I'm going to click on accessibility shortcut, and you can see I can allocate functions to the accessibility shortcut or the triple click home button. And I'm going to allocate switch control to the accessibility shortcut triple click home button. What that means is if I get myself into a bit of a pickle when I'm using switch control, I can triple click the home button and that will stop the switch control function. You must do that before you do anything else. So I'll just backtrack and show you how I got there once again. It was general, accessibility, right at the very bottom, accessible shortcuts, and make sure switch control has a tick beside it. Next thing you need to do is to attach your switch, and I'm using the Bluetooth switch, and it will be attached using Bluetooth. So if I click on the Bluetooth section, which is near the top of my iPad at the moment, third from the top, and Bluetooth is on, and you'll see there are a number of Bluetooth devices that I've previously connected, and the second one down is the Bluetooth device. Now if you've never paired the device before, all you need to do is switch the device on, and hopefully your iPad will find the Bluetooth device. I'm going to switch on the Bluetooth button. I'm just going to turn it to on, and fingers crossed that should then result in my iPad finding that Bluetooth switch. Here we go. So it's found the Bluetooth switch, it's connected. So I have a switch that the iPad recognises, and I've made sure that triple click is the way that I would escape from switch control if I get myself into a bit of a pickle. So now to program the switches on the Bluetooth device. Back to general, back to accessibility, and if I scroll on the right hand side, eventually under interaction you'll see I come to switch control, and I'm going to go into switch control, and at the top switch control is not on at the moment, but I have to make sure that my switches have a function allocated. So I'm going to click on switches, I'm going to add a new switch, and because my device is an external device, I'll click on External. It tells me to activate your switch, so I'm pressing the white switch, and it's found the white switch, and it's going to ask me to name it. So I'm going to name it white and save that. It will now ask me to allocate a function for that switch, and there's a selection. The best one I'm going to allocate at this moment in time is move to next item. So using the switch tab at the top, I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to add a new switch again, an external switch. It's asking me to activate the external switch, so I'm pressing the orange button. It's found it. I need to name it. I'll name it orange. And now I've got to allocate a function, and the function that I'm going to allocate for that is to tap. So my switch control is set up. Within scanning style, underneath switch control, you'll see that I've set it up for manual. That's because I'm going to be using my white switch to move to the next item and my orange switch to select. There are choices. You can have automatic scanning, you can have single switch step scanning, but for purposes of the demonstration, manual scanning is what I want to do. Okay, almost ready to put on switch control, but I'm just going to double check that I have allocated switch control to the accessibility shortcut at the bottom. Okay, two ways you can switch on switch control. If you go into switch control again, you can move the slider at the top, but the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to use that triple click button to activate switch control. So pressing it once to get back to my home screen, and then in quick succession 1, 2, 3 on the home button to start the switch control. Okay, here we go. The switch control is started. You can see the first row is highlighted. If I press my white switch, it will move me to the next item, move me to the next item, move me to the next item on the list if I press the white switch again. And the dots that I'm now highlighting will move me from one screen to another. So I actually want to go into the next page. So I'm going to press the orange button, which was set up for tap. And what that will do is move me to the next page. So white to scroll down, or move to next, move to next, move to next, and then I want that row, so orange to tap. So it's now scrolling through the individual apps, move to next, and I actually want to do GarageBand, so I'm going to click on the orange button, and what should happen is it will open up GarageBand. So quick demonstration of GarageBand using switch control. You can see at the moment it's on My Songs, and it's then just going to go through each of the things in turn. Now, down at the bottom right hand side, it's actually highlighting the menu. So I'm going to work through the switch control again. So clicking to move through the functions, using the white button. It's moving through all the functions. And down there, that's the menu button. And if I tap on it, you'll see actually there's nothing there at this moment in time. Nothing there at all. So I'm going to move through each of the functions until I get to being able to actually make some sort of sound. Right, here I am with the first set of the keys in GarageBand. So I press the orange button, and now white to move to next, white to move to next, press orange, and it's giving me a sound. And so you could continue using your switch control, moving to next, moving to next, moving to next, etc. until you're down on the position that you want to be. If I want to change the instrument, I'm going to tap on that instrument and then moving to next, change it to an acoustic guitar, and then select the acoustic guitar and it will change it. There we go, slight delay in your screen, but just by tapping the white button to move to next, and then when you get to the place where you want to select something, pressing the orange button will tap. So that's how you would use switch control. However, I can't get out of switch control just now because I haven't built in a way of actually using the switches to get back to my home screen. So I'm going to show you how I can do that. I'm going to triple click the home button to stop switch control working. 1, 2, 3. And I should now be out of switch control and able to go back to my home screen. So if you think of a child that's got motor difficulties, physical difficulties, yes, they can use that switch to move to next, and then tap, but they were sort of stuck in that GarageBand app because there's no way that they could have got back to the home screen. So what you can do is you can set up another level of switch control, and this is where things become a wee bit more complex. If you remember that menu, those 6 buttons I think down at the bottom right hand side, there were no choices in that menu, and I'm going to allocate some choices just now. So I'm going to go into settings, and within general, accessibility, and back to switch control. Okay. So now what I want to do is to add menu items. So I've just scrolled down and eventually I come to menu items. And if I tap on menu items, you'll see that there are 4 sections. There's the top level, and then there's the gestures, device, and settings. And if I go into top level, you'll see that nothing at all is ticked. So when the menu appeared and when the switch tapped on the menu, it was empty. There was nothing there. So I'm going to allocate some things at top level. So I'll allocate device, and I'll allocate some gestures, let's say. So if I go back, you'll see now that gestures, I have to say specifically what gestures I want to allocate. So I could allocate a double tap, or I could allocate a pinch, or I could allocate a tap. Just choosing these at random. If I go back a level and into device, I could allocate a screenshot, or a rotate screen, or a mute, or Siri. So what I'm now starting to do is to layer other choices within switch control. It's not just straightforward as in press next, press next, press next, and then tap, which was what my 2 buttons were set up for. I'm now giving menu choices. So it's giving the user additional choices that they can make. So I'm going to press once on my home button, take me to home. Just want to check if I allocated home as one of the menu items. There we go. I'm going to allocate home as a menu item as well. So pressing the home button to take me back to the basic screen, and I'm going to triple click, and I'm going to start using switches. Just going to double check that switch control is still part of the accessibility shortcuts. Yes, it is. So I can use triple click to get in and triple click to get out. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Switch control is on. So I'm going to press white for next, white for next item, white for next item. Then within the pages, I'm going to select orange. And then I've moved to the next page. So white for next item, white for next item, white for next item, and then orange to select that row, white for next item, and orange. So here I am again within GarageBand. However, if I want to get out of it, so I'm pressing white for next item, white for next item, white, scrolling along the various choices within this app. Slight delay on your screen. And where I'm aiming to get to is the bottom right hand, where I've got the 6 menu choices. There we go. So now if I press the orange button, I now have the opportunity to go home or to do something within the device. So if I go to the next item, and I'll do device, and there are various things I can do there. Let's demonstrate that again, because actually what I want to do is just simply come out of this tab. So I am pressing the white button, next, 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 and then eventually it will highlight the menu choices, orange to select, and you can see that there are 2 levels. I can use this to go home, which I'm going to press, or device, which I can then press as well. Oh, takes a wee bit of effort. Got myself into a bit of a pickle there, you can see. But again, I'm going for the menu items. And home, and it's taken me home. So that's an example of switch control, which is controlling more of your iOS device. So yes, I have allocated move to next item and tap to my switches, but the menu item within the actual device will give me more choices too. But it is quite complex to set up. I'm going to triple click to stop switch access. So switch access is now stopped. I'm no longer using the iOS settings. There are some apps that are actually switch accessible apps. And Jane Farrell is somebody you can search, and she would be able to, or she has provided a list of switch accessible apps. So if I click on my switch accessible apps that I do have, and one of them is called Turtle Invaders, and I know that provided I have a switch paired with my device, I don't need to triple click to go into the switch control of the iPad. All I need to do is launch the app itself and then just hit the switch, and the app has settings within it that knows that if I have a switch, that switch will perform certain functions. So I'm going to play this app. So I've been pressing using my finger so far, but once I press the switch, I'm now able to use the switch control, and I am using the actual switch to fire. It doesn't seem to matter whether it's the orange or the white switch, but I'm able to communicate with that switch within the app. So there we go, setting up switch control within your iOS device to actually use the iOS device itself. Quite complex, quite tricky. And also discovering apps which are switch accessible apps. And once you've paired your switch to your device, you do not need to triple click or to set on the switch control within the device, as that app has been programmed to expect a switch to control it. Hopefully that makes some sense. Thank you for watching.